There is something the enemy knows about you that you do not fully know about yourself yet. There is a version of you, fully formed, fully alive, fully walking in the power God placed inside you before you were born, that has been the target of an assault you may not have had the language to name, the spiritual opposition you have faced, the setbacks that came every time you started to rise, the exhaustion that settled in right at the moment you were supposed to take the next step. None of that was random. None of it was coincidence. All of it was strategic, because what is on the inside of you has always terrified what is on the outside of God's will. Today, I am not speaking to the version of you that has been wounded, delayed, or suppressed. I am speaking to the version of you that is about to emerge. And I need you to stay with me for every word of what comes next, because this is not a general message. This was written by heaven and delivered through this moment to reach you specifically today, where you are sitting, in the middle of whatever season you are carrying. Before we begin, do one thing right now. Leave a comment below this video and write the words, "I am ready." That is not a statement for my benefit. That is a declaration of spiritual positioning. You are announcing to the atmosphere that you are open, you are ready, and you know that what God places in front of you today is not an accident. Then subscribe and turn on notifications, because what God is doing in this space is not one message, it is a movement, and you were placed here to be part of it. Now, let me tell you what I believe God is saying directly to you today. The version of you the enemy fears most is not the version that never struggled. It is not the version that never doubted. It is not the version that had everything figured out and walked a perfectly clean path from calling to fulfillment. The version of you the enemy fears most is the one who has been through the fire, the silence, the delay, the confusion, and is still standing, still believing, still here. That version of you is not a work in progress. That version of you is a weapon being sharpened, and the sharpening is almost finished. I need you to understand something before we go any deeper. The reason the enemy has worked so hard to keep you small, quiet, and uncertain is not because you are weak. It is because he has seen what God has written about you. He has seen the assignment attached to your name. He has seen the authority that lives inside you when it is fully awake. And everything he has done, every discouragement, every delay, every whispered lie that said you were behind, that you had failed, that you had missed it, every one of those attacks was a confession that he knows what is coming. He knows what emerges when a person like you stops holding themselves back and starts walking in the fullness of what God designed. Today is the day the emergence begins. There is a word written in Isaiah 54, verse 17. It says this, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is from me, says the Lord." Isaiah 54:17. That word was not spoken over a people who had no enemies. It was spoken over a people who were surrounded by opposition, who had walked through devastation, who were being rebuilt from the inside out. God did not say the weapons would not form. He said they would not prosper. Do you understand the difference? The attacks were real. The resistance was real. The difficulty was not imagined, but the outcome, the final word over your life, was never in the enemy's hands. It was always in God's. And here is what this means for you. The things that were formed against you, the relationships that were weaponized, the opportunities that were blocked, the seasons that felt like they were trying to erase everything you had built. They formed, they existed, they were real, but none of them prospered. None of them had the final word. Because the heritage of someone set apart by God is not a smooth and uncontested path. The heritage is that at the end of every battle, they are still standing. You are still standing. That is not weakness. That is evidence that no weapon has ever been able to take you out. And here is what I want you to understand about this season you are in right now. Remember Gideon, my beloved. Remember the man God chose to deliver an entire nation. When the angel of the Lord appeared to him, Gideon was not standing in a field of victory. He was hiding. He was threshing wheat inside a winepress, a small concealed space, because he was afraid of what was against him. And the angel looked at him in that hidden place and called him something that had nothing to do with what he could see about himself. The angel called him a mighty man of valor. Judges 6:12. Not a mighty man of potential, not a mighty man in development, a mighty man of valor, present tense, right then, in the middle of the hiding. Do you see? God did not wait for Gideon to feel mighty before he declared it. God spoke to who Gideon already was in the spirit before Gideon could see it in the natural. So it is with you. The version of you God sees right now, the version he has been speaking about, preparing, sharpening, that version does not need you to feel ready before it becomes real. It just needs you to step out of the winepress. And here is what most people never understand about this. When God hides someone, when he allows a season of concealment, limitation, or quiet, it does not mean he has forgotten them. It means he is protecting something so valuable that it cannot be released before it is ready. Every great emergence in the Bible was preceded by a hidden season. Moses was in the wilderness for 40 years before the burning bush. David was anointed as king and then sent back to the sheep for years before the throne. Joseph was in the pit, then in the prison, before the palace. The hiddenness was not the enemy winning. The hiddenness was God working at a depth that the enemy could not touch. You have been in a hidden season. I know what that feels like from the inside. It feels like you are being forgotten. It feels like everyone else is moving forward while you stay exactly where you are. It feels like something is wrong with you, like you missed a signal, made a wrong turn, or disqualified yourself somewhere along the way. But listen, this is the part that changes everything. You were never behind. You were being formed. The hidden season was not punishment, it was protection. What God was building inside you during those years of silence, of waiting, of feeling like nothing was happening. That work is more durable, more precise, and more dangerous to the enemy than anything you could have built through shortcuts or surface-level momentum. The version of you that is about to emerge is not the version that bypassed the wilderness. It is the version that was shaped by it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to say connects all of it. There is a reason the enemy has worked so consistently to keep you in a posture of self-doubt. It is not because you are small, it is because a chosen person who knows who they are is impossible to contain. When a person understands the authority attached to their identity in God, when they stop asking whether they belong in the room and start walking as someone who was invited by the one who owns the building, the entire spiritual atmosphere shifts. The enemy cannot operate with the same ease against someone who is awake to their assignment. He cannot sustain the same level of confusion in the mind of someone who knows that their steps are ordered. He cannot keep blocking the same doors on someone who knows that no weapon formed against them can prosper. That is why the attack on your identity has been so relentless. That is why the lies have been so specific. You are too much. You are not enough. You are behind. You already failed. You missed the window. Those are not random thoughts. Those are targeted arrows aimed at the one thing that, if it stays intact, makes everything the enemy has built against you collapse. Your knowledge of who you are, your certainty that you were chosen before you were born, your unwavering conviction that the God who started a good work in you has never, not once, stopped completing it. As it is written in Philippians 1 verse 6, being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1:6. He began it. He is completing it. That process did not pause when your circumstances got hard. That work did not stop when the silence came. The completion is not contingent on you having everything figured out. It is contingent on the faithfulness of the one who started it. And his faithfulness does not change. You have been faithful. You have prayed. You have believed. And yet you're the same ceiling, the same walls, the same feeling that everyone around you is moving forward while you stay exactly where you were last year. That is not a lack of faith. That is a spiritual blockage. And there is a specific path out of it. The 7 steps of the chosen walks you through exactly how to shield your life, unlock what has been held back, and defeat the enemy that has been standing between you and what God promised in 21 days. The link is pinned in the first comment. Comment, I break through now, and begin. Now let me go deeper with you, because there is a layer to this message that I have not touched yet, and it is the layer that I believe God wants to speak to most directly. There is a version of you that the enemy has studied. He has watched your patterns. He has identified your vulnerabilities. He has noted the specific areas where discouragement hits fastest, where fear moves in most easily, where the lie lands with the most weight. And he has constructed a carefully designed containment strategy, not to destroy you outright, because he knows he cannot, but to keep you so close to who you were meant to be that you feel the proximity without ever fully crossing into it. You have felt that. The almost, the close but not yet, the sense that you can see the life God has for you but cannot seem to fully step inside it. That feeling is not failure. That feeling is the tension between where you are and where you are about to be. And it is the most dangerous place the enemy would want you to stay, because people who are almost there tend to give up just before the breakthrough arrives. Today I am telling you, you are not almost there. You are at the edge of the emergence, and the version of you that is about to step forward is not one the enemy has a strategy for, because this version of you has been shaped by every battle you thought you were losing. This version of you carries the wisdom of the wilderness. This version of you has been tried in the fire and come out knowing exactly what survives and what does not. This version of you is who God was building the whole time. Stay with me, because what I am about to say connects all of it. The emergence is not something you manufacture. It is something you step into. It is not the result of finally getting everything right, or finally feeling ready, or finally arriving at the level of spiritual maturity you think the calling requires. The emergence happens when you simply stop agreeing with what the enemy has said about you and start agreeing with what God has already written. It happens when you look at the place you are standing, the hidden place, the difficult place, the place that feels too small for the version of you that lives on the inside, and you decide that you are done staying there. Not because circumstances have changed, not because the path suddenly looks clear, but because you know who you are. And who you are does not belong in a wine press. Who you are belongs in the open field, walking with authority, carrying an assignment that the enemy already confessed he cannot stop. But listen, this is the part that changes everything. The emergence requires you to move with the right tools in your hands. Gideon did not walk into battle empty-handed. God gave him a specific strategy: torches, jars, trumpets, unconventional, unexpected, built for a different kind of warfare than the enemy anticipated. Judges 7:16. And when Gideon's men broke the jars and let the light out, the enemy's camp fell into confusion. The light that had been hidden inside the jar was always there. It just needed to be released. You have light inside you that has been held in. Gifts, authority, clarity, spiritual muscle that was built in the hidden season, precisely for the moment you would need it. The emergence is the moment the jar breaks, the moment what was inside can no longer be contained. And that moment is now. Let me take a moment here and speak from the heart before we continue. What happens in this space, this ministry, is not content, it is care. Every message here is the result of hours of prayer, preparation, and a deep commitment to reaching the person who is in the middle of the hardest season of their life and needs to know that God has not taken his eyes off of them. If this message has been building something in you, if it has given you language for what you have been feeling but could not name, I want to invite you to consider supporting this channel. The link is pinned in the first comment. It says, "Buy me a coffee." It is completely voluntary. You give only what God places on your heart to give. But if he does lead you, know that your support reaches the next person who finds this video in their most desperate moment and discovers that God was not silent. He was speaking. I am honored to be part of your emergence. Let us continue. You have been praying the same prayer for years, and the answer has not come. That silence is one of the heaviest things a person can carry. But I need to tell you something. The problem is not that God is not hearing you. The problem may be that you have not yet learned to speak with the authority he already gave you. Chosen in Action gives you 21 spiritual decrees, not generic prayers, but targeted declarations that shift the atmosphere of your life in less than 7 days. The link is pinned in the first comment. Comment, "I decree it now," and let that be the first declaration of your new season. Now I want to speak to something that I know is present in the room. There are people listening to this message right now who have been carrying a specific weight for a very long time, and that weight is this: the fear that the version of you that was supposed to emerge already passed its window, that the calling was real, the assignment was real, the promise was real, but the delay was too long. That somewhere in the years of waiting, in the seasons of seeming defeat, in the moments of choosing wrong and having to rebuild, the emergence window closed. I want to address that fear directly, and I want to speak to it with everything I have. The call of God is without repentance. Romans 11:29. That is not a decorative verse. It is a theological statement of the highest order. The gifts and the calling God placed on your life before you were born, those do not expire. They do not get reallocated because you took too long to find your footing. They do not diminish because the path was harder than you expected. God does not recall his assignments because the recipient went through difficulty. He perfects them through it. What you call delay, I call preparation. That has been true over every year you spent wondering if you had missed it. It was true in the seasons of silence when God seemed further away than ever. It was true in the moments of failure that felt like they were writing the final sentence over your calling. None of it was final. None of it was the end of the assignment. All of it was being woven into the story of a person who would emerge with a testimony that could not be manufactured, because it was built on the foundation of real fire, real silence, real waiting, and real faith that refused to let go. And I need to tell you something about the enemy's strategy in this late season. When God is about to bring something through, when the emergence is near, the opposition does not ease up. It often intensifies. The resistance you have felt recently, the heaviness that has been present, the sense that something is pressing against you with more force than usual. I want to offer you a different lens for that experience. What if the increase in pressure is not evidence that God has abandoned the plan? What if it is evidence that the enemy knows the plan is about to be executed and is making one final, desperate effort to stop it? As it is written in 1 Peter 5 verse 8, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." 1 Peter 5:8. A lion roars loudest when it is trying to use fear as a weapon, not when it is certain of its kill. The roar is a bluff designed to stop you before you take the next step. What you are hearing right now, what you are feeling right now, that pressure, that resistance, it is a roar. And roars cannot stop someone who knows that the one inside them is greater than anything that stands against them. 1 John 4:4. You know there is more provision, more opportunity, more ground that belongs to you. But something keeps the ceiling where it is. Chosen to Win gives you 30 revelations that activate what God already placed in your life. Protection, money, and restoration that moves now. And the 7 steps of the Chosen walks you through 21 days of removing the blockage and stepping into what was always yours. Both are pinned in the first comment. The level you know you belong on. These two will get you there. I want you to sit in what I am about to say for a moment, because this is the place in the message where the shift happens. You have been asking God, when? When will this change? When will the breakthrough come? When will the version of me that I know is inside me finally get to live out in the open? And I believe that in this moment, God is not giving you a timeline. He is giving you an invitation. The emergence is not something scheduled on a divine calendar that you are waiting to arrive. It is a posture. It is a decision. It is the moment you take everything the hidden season built inside you and step out of the concealed place and into the open field, holding the torch, knowing the jar is about to break. I did not bring you this far to abandon you now. Not through the years of silence, not through the seasons of feeling forgotten, not through the battles you carried alone at 3 in the morning when no one knew how heavy the weight was. I was there. I've always been there. And what I've been doing in the hidden places of your life, the private battles, the quiet reforming, the deep work that no one else witnessed, that is the foundation of the emergence. That is what makes it unshakable. That is what makes it something the enemy cannot reverse once it is released. As it is written in Jeremiah 29 verse 11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. That word was spoken to people in exile, people who had lost their homeland, their temple, their sense of where they belonged. And into that place, not after it was resolved, but inside it, God declared that He knew the plans, that the plans were not destroyed, that the future was not cancelled, that the hope was still alive and attached to them even in the place of waiting. You are not in exile, but you understand what it feels like to be in a place that does not match the life you were meant for. You understand the distance between where you are and where you know you are supposed to be. And into that gap, right now, today, through this message, God is declaring the same thing He declared in Jeremiah. He knows the plans. The plans are good, the future is real, and the hope is not wishful thinking. It is a spiritual certainty, authored before you were born, maintained through everything you have walked through, and completely intact on the other side of this season. The version of you that emerges from this season is going to change things, not in a general, vague way, in a specific, targeted, real way. The relationships in your life will feel the shift. The people you were called to serve will feel the shift. The atmosphere of your home, your work, your purpose, every sphere where God has planted you will feel the difference between a person who was suppressed and a person who has emerged. And the enemy, who has worked so hard to keep you in the winepress, will recognize the face of everything he was afraid of. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are mine. And what is mine does not stay hidden forever. What is mine does not stay small. What is mine rises, not because of what the chosen person did to deserve it, but because of what I already placed inside them before they could earn or lose a single thing. You did not qualify for this calling by your track record. You were given this calling before you had a track record. And the same grace that placed the calling on your life before you were formed is the same grace that has been carrying you through every season where you felt like you were barely holding on. The emergence is not the beginning of God's work in you. It is the moment that work becomes visible to the world. It has been happening the whole time. In the quiet, in the fire, in the waiting, in the rebuilding. All of it was the emergence, happening layer by layer, in the places no one else could see. And now the outer world is about to catch up with what God has already completed on the inside. I want you to do something before this video ends. I want you to take a moment, right now, with me. And I want you to release something. Release the idea that you are behind. Release the lie that you missed the window. Release the weight of the years you spent wondering if the calling was still real. Put it down. Not because the pain of those seasons was not real, it was. But because you are no longer in those seasons. You are in the edge of the emergence, and you cannot carry the weight of the hidden season into the territory God is bringing you into. The jar is about to break. The light is about to be released. And light does not need the jar to do what it was made to do. You came to this video for a reason. That reason was not random. This message did not find you by accident. Nothing about your life is an accident in my hands. And the fact that you are still here, still watching, still believing that God has something specific to say to you today, that is not stubbornness. That is the spiritual instinct of someone who was placed here on purpose, for a purpose, at exactly this moment in time. The version of you the enemy fears most is not a future version. It is you, shaped by everything you have already walked through, awake to who God says you are, done waiting for permission to step into the calling that was never revoked. That version of you is here, right now, in this moment, and it is time to emerge. You are chosen, and chosen people do not walk this path alone. The link is pinned in the first comment. Get the tools God is putting in front of you today. Click, receive, open, and begin. Comment, right now, I am emerging now. That is your declaration of faith over your life, your calling, and the version of you that the enemy has never been able to stop. Subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification bell, so that every message God sends through this space reaches you directly. And share this video right now with the person in your life who has been hiding in their own winepress, who has been waiting to be told that the calling is still alive, that they have not been forgotten, and that their emergence is not behind. It is here. You may be the instrument God uses to begin someone else's breakthrough today. Share it now. God sees you. He always has.